The Bóveda, discipline, spiritual elevation, and ancestor connection. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the true importance of the Bóveda within serious Espiritismo. Not from fanaticism, not from fear, not from performance, but from discipline, prayer, spiritual elevation, cleanliness, consistency, and connection with our ancestors and spiritual court. A lot of people see glasses of water, candles, flowers, and think that's all a Bóveda is. But the Bóveda is much deeper than that. The Bóveda isn't simply putting out cups of water. The Bóveda is a spiritual point of elevation, a place of prayer, a place of clarity, a place of alignment, a place of discipline, a place where we begin building relationship with our ancestors and spiritual court. It's not theater, it's not fantasy, it's not for spiritual performance, and it's not for obsession with spirits. The Bóveda is a place of order, and that's something very deep. Because many times a person's spiritual life looks exactly like their inner world. Disorganized, cluttered, emotionally heavy, inconsistent, without discipline, without stillness. And little by little, the Bóveda begins teaching something powerful: spiritual discipline, learning to attend it daily, learning to pray even when you feel nothing, learning patience, learning silence, learning observation, learning cleanliness, learning spiritual stillness. Many people want spiritual development, but without discipline, there's no real development. The Bóveda helps develop intuition, calmness, spiritual sensitivity, emotional stability, mental clarity, discernment, ancestral connection. But this happens slowly. Not because you placed some cups down one day and then magically opened portals. Faith is what activates. Correct intention is what moves things. Consistency is what strengthens the current. And yes, the Bóveda is a spiritual opening in a certain sense, because you're creating a point of prayer and elevation for your spiritual court and your ancestors. But that opening must come with respect, humility, cleanliness, balance, sincere prayer. Not from ego, not from fear, not from desperation, not from morbid curiosity. And something very important: our ancestors aren't spiritual slaves. They aren't toys. They aren't magical servants meant to satisfy every whim. Serious Espiritismo teaches reverence toward Egun and toward the spiritual court. The Bóveda exists to elevate, bring light, create clarity, strengthen protection, harmonize the home, organize the spirit, deepen awareness. And something important today: a lot of people online say you need someone to activate your Bóveda. You can't begin without permission. You need somebody to mount it for you. Now, yes, guidance from elders is extremely important. Nobody goes far without orientation. Correct guidance prevents mistakes. But a simple, respectful, clean Bóveda for prayer and spiritual elevation can absolutely begin from sincerity of heart. Some people begin very simply. One glass of water, one candle, one sincere prayer. And that's perfectly okay. Others begin with more structure depending on the guidance of their elders. Some work with one principal cup, multiple surrounding cups, a crucifix, the principal cup called the Santísimo, the holiest, flowers, spiritual imagery, 6-cup configurations, 7-cup configurations, different arrangements, depending on the spiritual current. Everything depends on guidance, tradition, lineage, spiritual development, and the house one walks under. But something important, it's not the number of cups that creates power. It's faith, cleanliness, prayer, discipline, consistency. Many people place a white cloth over the Bóveda. Why white? Because white represents peace, clarity, spiritual elevation, purity, energetic cleanliness. The Bóveda should remain clean at all times. Not overloaded, not chaotic, not cluttered. The Bóveda shouldn't become a spiritual storage room. Every object should have purpose. The water should remain fresh. The glasses should remain clean. Stagnant water, dust, neglect, dead flowers, rotting leaves, dirty glasses, heavy clutter, all of this creates a feeling of abandonment and spiritual heaviness. The Bóveda should feel alive, fresh, elevated, peaceful, organized. Flowers are beautiful because they bring softness, life, and elevation into the space. But dead flowers shouldn't remain there deteriorating. And another important thing, the Bóveda isn't a common table. Avoid turning it into a place for random keys, loose papers, clutter, trash, random objects with no spiritual purpose. Many Espiritistas also work with the principal cup, right? The Santísimo or central cup. In many traditions, this represents the central spiritual current, the spiritual court, the main point of elevation, the central focus of prayer. In some houses, it's placed in the center, slightly elevated behind the others, near the Santísimo or crucifix, depending on the spiritual tradition and orientation. Again, every house has its particular nuances. The important thing is order, respect, coherence, stability, not copying things simply because they were seen online. Because social media has confused many people spiritually. People see giant spiritual altars overloaded with objects and think the more things it has, the stronger it is. And that isn't necessarily true. Sometimes a very simple Bóveda, properly attended, properly prayed over, properly cared for, carries more spiritual strength than something extravagant built without discipline. And another important thing, the Bóveda should never become a place of paranoia. Don't become obsessed searching for shadows, fear, constant manifestations, spiritual hysteria, chaos. Serious Espiritismo seeks clarity, balance, elevation, peace, discernment, organization of the spirit. And many times the true result of a properly attended Bóveda is more mental peace, less chaos, clearer intuition, better discernment, emotional stability, inner calmness, spiritual awareness. The Bóveda doesn't always scream. Many times, the Bóveda organizes. And finally, Espiritismo is Espiritismo. Osha is Osha. Ifá is Ifá. Palo is Palo. Each current has its own foundation. Each path has its own structure. Each shoe has its own shoemaker. True spirituality isn't measured by how mysterious we appear, but by how much balance, humility, awareness, and light we develop as human beings. Paso firme no da cambio. Che. Che.